Alabama's colleges and universities want more funding. Thousands drove that message home when they rallied at the Alabama Capitol. Michaela Simmons reports from Montgomery.
These students were in rhythm at Higher Education Day.
And we just want to advocate our experience with our college and tell our state why we love our college.
Jane Vickers delivered this message to those who oversee and fund higher education. Using the Capitol as a backdrop, they insisted on more dollars for upper education.
You know, if you do statistical analysis, many of your experts across the country predict that almost a third of the jobs going forward are going to require at least a bachelor's degree.
And Higher Education Executive Director Gordon Stone claims more degrees take more money. Marlo Young agrees.
You know, higher education is one of those avenues where we can do better in life, make that livable wage.
They are those who depend on higher education to enrich their careers. This year is the 26th year Alabama has celebrated Higher Education Day. In Montgomery, Michaela Simmons for your Hometown News Leader.